Hi, this is Juan from JuanTutors.com. Welcome to my totally free office hours. Today we're working on the August 2016 New York Geometry Common Core Regions problem number 18. If you want to access these exams anywhere in the world, go to nysedregents.org. Click on the appropriate tabs. All the tests are freely available there. So here's the problem. Point P is on the directed line segment from point X, -6, -2, to point Y, 6, 7, and divides the segment in a ratio 1 to 5. What are the coordinates of P? Okay, let's see. Well, there's four choices. Pause the video. Try this on your own. I always say this. Try it on your own and see if you get the same answers as this. If you don't know how to do this question what you would consider the standard way, do this question however you choose. See if you can get the right answer. And if you do get the same answers as us, definitely hit that like button so that we can know. So how do we do this? I always draw a diagram. As you know if you've watched problem 1 through problem 17, I always draw a diagram. So I'm going to draw a diagram now. I know that point X is at -6, -2. So this is the X, this is the Y. Point X is at -6, -2. So this is X, -6, -2. And then point Y is at the point 6, 7. So -2, 7. Okay, and that's the point. Here's the line segment, and it's a directed line segment. Okay, so we're moving in that direction. So when they say that P divides this line segment into a ratio of 1 to 5, well, then that means that point P is somewhere around here, closer to X than to Y. How do I know it's closer to X than to Y? Because the line segment is directed. If it was not directed, then P could be over here somewhere, or it could be here somewhere. Now, I've drawn it somewhere, it looks like it's maybe around the X-axis. Since this is an approximate drawing, I can't really know if it's really above the X-axis or on the X-axis or below the X-axis, but I do know for a fact, since the midpoint of this line segment is here at X equals 0, I do know for a fact that the X coordinate is on the negative X side. So any answer with a positive X coordinate has to be incorrect, and this one is wrong. Okay, now I suspect that this one is also going to be wrong because the ratio of 1 to 5, this small line segment over here, is much smaller than this line segment, and -1/2 is very close to the midpoint. So I suspect that this one's wrong. So it's going to be probably this one, or this answer, or this answer. Okay, now how do we do it algebraically? Let's see. I've seen a clever solution using the distance formula, and I know that a student showed me he knows that the distance formula is, or the distance from this point to this point is 1/6. So if this is a distance, let's call this distance D. Let's call this distance 5D, and let's call this distance 6D. Now they were very kind to give us sides which have length. If you draw a triangle, okay, this side is length 12, and from -2 to 7, that side is length 9. So this is actually the 9, 12, 15 triangle, which means it's a Pythagorean triple. So to get these coordinates, you literally divide these lengths by 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2, so this is 2 units away. That's a -4, that's right there. And also 9 divided by 6 is 1.5. 1.5 above -2 is -1/2. So that is going to be the answer. But I don't want to do it that way necessarily, because that's a very clever, a little bit too clever for me, and it's a way, not in the sense that I don't want you to know how to do it because I think clever solutions tend to be very eye-opening. But what I'm saying is that in terms of explaining how to do it, I think it's a little bit not the most useful way, or not the way that would most apply to other situations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call point P. I know that point P is a certain distance from A. Again, this is a distance D, and this is a distance 5D. So the full distance is d plus 5d is 60. Okay? So I know that point P is going to be the point -6 plus some number, which I'm going to call A, and then the y-coordinate is going to be -2 plus some number B. Okay? Well, going in the same fashion from point P to point Y, I go from point P to point Y by adding another 5d horizontally, 5 times the distance horizontally and 5 times the distance vertically. So y is equal to the point -6 plus 6a, 1a plus 5a is 6a, and -2 plus 1b plus 5b is 6b, and this is equal to the point 6, 7. So in fact, I have a formula now to get a and b. So -6 plus 6a equals the point 6, and I add 6, I got 6a. Let me scroll down a little bit. Good. 6a equals 12 divided by 6. Divided by 6, I got a equals 2. So, and then I also get -2 plus 6b equals 7. I add 2, and I got 6b equals 9. Divide by 6, and I got b equals 1 1/2. So I got point P is -6 plus a is 2, comma, -2 plus 1 1/2, which is equal to the point -4, comma, -1/2. And that's my answer. Okay, so that's a very nice, very useful way of doing this problem. We've learned two different ways. One is cleverly using the Pythagorean theorem. Those are two ways that you can do this. If your goal was just to get problem 18, feel free to hit the next button so you can go to problem 19. We did create an extra problem for you guys to get a little bit of extra problem on a very related topic. And here's the problem. Point P 0, 0 and point Q 6, -8 form a line segment PQ. Point M is the midpoint of PQ, point A is the midpoint of PM, point T is the midpoint of AQ, and then what are the coordinates of point T? So that's a lot of words. Try to see if you can get this problem on your own. My hint, as usual, draw a diagram. And then see if you get the same answer as us. If you do get the same answer as us, definitely hit the like button. So I'm gonna draw a graph. This is, everything seems to be on the lower quadrant 4. So this is X, this is Y, or rather, that's Y. And let's see, I'm gonna do this one in blue. So point P is at 0, 0. And then point Q is at 6, -8. So that's point Q. Okay. And let's see. Now I have a bunch of midpoints. Midpoint of line M. M is the midpoint of line PQ, rather. Let's see. So M is the midpoint of line PQ. Now it does help to know the midpoint formula. So the midpoint of point X1, Y1 and X2, Y2 is the average. X1 plus X2 over 2, comma, Y1 plus Y2 over 2. So 0 plus 6 over 2 is 3. And then 0 plus Q is the point 6, -8. So 0 plus 6 over 2 is 3. And then 0 plus -8 over 2 is -4. Okay? So 3, -4. Okay, that's M. Now, A is the midpoint of PM. So A is the midpoint of PM. For the same reason, 3 plus 0 is 3, divided by 2 is 1.5. And then negative 4 plus 0 is 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. And then T is the midpoint of AQ. Be very careful. They will frequently have this point waiting for you as one of the answers. So they don't in this case, but they will frequently. So the midpoint is going to be somewhere over here, because I know it's to the right of M, right and below, to the right and below M, because P is to the left of and above A. So if I move from P to A going down to the right, then to get to the midpoint of AQ, I move also down to the right. So any answer that is not down and to the right of the point 3, negative 4 is not the answer. So negative 2, negative 3 is not the answer. Negative 4, negative 5 is not the answer. 2 1/4 is not the negative 3 is not the answer. So the answer is going to be this, but we should calculate it just to be sure. The midpoint of AQ is, let's see, 1.5 plus 6 over 2, which is 7.5 divided by 2 is 3.75. And negative 2 plus negative 8 over 2. Well, negative 2 plus negative 8 is negative 10. Divided by 2 is negative 5. So that's point T. What are the coordinates of point T? 3.75, comma, negative 5. So we verified that that is, in fact, the answer. Negative 3 and 3 3/3, comma, negative 5. Okay, listen, I hope you got it. I know you can do it. I believe in you. Keep working at it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video starting right now.